Would you please welcome in person, Kelsey?
Thank you very much for having me, Gaimea. It's lovely to be here.
Come a little bit closer, pretend we're friends. There you go.
We can be friends. We are friends. It's great.
It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
In person as well as in video. A bit of an update on the project. And it has been going for a long time,
Yep.
working with the Lebanese Baptist World Aid equivalent.
Yep.
And working with the Syrian refugees. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the adaptations that they've had to go into over the last year or so?
Yeah, so these partners, they absolutely blow my mind. With every time I speak to them, the way they are adapting, the way they are making changes. And so a little fun fact that not many people know about this partner is that this education centre was actually built and established after the 2006 Lebanon conflict that happened then. So they were actually built out of conflict. And since then, they've just continually adapted to things like the economic crisis, the Beirut blast, the refugee crisis. And so finally, they adapted to COVID. So they took the lessons from COVID of turning into online education and then hybrid education because it wasn't safe to be in the area, and were able to continue the project through using the experiences they'd already been to. So I just love how God put the people in place that were perfect for adapting to that situation.
Now, you were actually on the ground a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Lebanon is a really complex place. And so as part of that, I just want to say, as I said in the video, thank you for sticking with Lebanon, because I do get that it is complex. It's a complex place. And I remember this very vivid memory of driving along in the car with one of our partners who was explaining to me some of the nuances of working in Lebanon. And she actually goes, what you need to know is that our organisation, we're loving our enemies. And I went, what do you mean? And in Lebanon, Syria and Lebanon, they've had conflicts. They've had very face-to-face active conflict with each other. And many of our partners remember this. And yet it's in the middle of this that they find themselves working with very people that by their nationality should be their enemies. I just don't think that's an incredible space.
Now, you were there just before the war in Gaza broke out. So it's been a couple of years
It's been
since
a couple
you've
of
been
years.
there.
It's been a couple of years.
Sure. So now that the civil war in Syria is over, does that mean that this project is winding up?
Look, this is one of these things that it's a really tough question to answer, because there is a lot of complexity about that. And one of the reasons in this crisis that they changed to online education is because most of the Syrians actually left and went back to Syria. And that should give you an indication of what it was like being in Beirut at that point in time, when they went, okay, going to Syria is the better option. What we've then seen since is a lot of them have come back. So they've come back across the border, but that creates more issues, particularly around like refugee law, and a lot of those Syrians aren't recognised in Lebanon. So you don't have access to any of your social systems. And so that just further deepens some of these crises. And many of them came home to find that their places had been looted and damaged. And so the very little that they left with, a lot of them have lost that. So you can just see how it's just layers and layers and layers. And that's one reason that we go, getting education right, making sure that kids have got access to an education to keep them out of child labour, to help protect them and to give them a future. You can see why that is so critical.
So this is obviously not the only project that the Baptist World Aid in Lebanon is doing. Can you just speak a little bit more about some of the wider work that they're engaged in? Like,
absolutely,
helping people find citizenship or re-establish the fact that they are refugees or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. And that's one reason we love working with this partner, is they don't just do education, but they go, each person that they work with is part of a bigger picture, part of, they have a holistic life. And so they do everything from immediate needs like some of the food. You would have seen some videos if you've been around before of like blankets through the winter to help get through the winter months. Some of that very basic assistance right through to advocating for legal rights. And one thing that's really fabulous is that this partner he's actually been one of the leading voices in Lebanon on stateless individuals. So they are speaking into the government and going, here's what our community see, here's what they need, and they're using that voice. And so I love that they're going, we don't want to just turn up with a school, but we want to see each community, each person as a holistic person. Let's preach the gospel, and let's do that by loving and seeing these people who are otherwise invisible in the Lebanese context.
One of the reasons why I think our heart has been to support this project year on year is that the news cycle changes so quickly. There have been so many crises, like you just mentioned a few of them just in passing, since the civil war in Syria. And I think it's easy for us to forget the ongoing impact of that. So I think the idea to continue to be committed to that project and to know that there's much more going on, the complexity of it is really quite significant. We're going to take some time to pray for this project in just a moment. Would you thank Kelsey for being with us this morning?
Thank you so much. Thank you.